Man, I finished up all the quests and stuff in the Brelands and Lothlorien. I don't know where else to go. I'm not getting any more boosts in XP. If only there was a video that showed me where to go and what areas are next for my level progression.
Welcome back everyone, and in today's video we're going to cover what levels you obtain in which areas and the kind of route you will take as you progress through the game. So, let's get to it.
For all you beginner players out there, all wanting to know where you will go, it all depends on where you start. Now, since we've gone over that already in my first hour gameplay videos, we'll skip ahead. Simply put, eventually every character will converge on the Brelands and the town of Bree. So, we'll sort of start there, however, let's cover everything from the start. Levels 1 through 8 are your introduction zones, whether that be the Brelands, Lothlorien, or Kellendam. Do all the quests you can in those introduction areas until you reach level 8, and then the game should give you your final quest that will send you into the real world of Middle-earth. Levels 8 through 17 are the main parts of Lothlorien and the Brelands. These are the fastest areas to quick level. In my opinion, if you want to level as fast as possible, you can simply skip the Shire portion of the game because the quests mostly consist of bring this from here to there, and can get quite time consuming for very little reward. However, if you want to simply just play the game and enjoy all the aspects of it, then by all means, be my guest and enjoy yourself. Now, during this portion, make sure you try and complete all the extra quests as well as long as the epic storyline. This will help you level faster, and you can also yield some better armor and weapons, so you don't have to buy or make them yourselves by learning crafting.
Any and all information about LOTRO crafting can be found in this video right here.
You should be spending quite some time in these areas because there's lots to do and many enemies to take out and plenty of ground to cover. Levels 17 through 20, it's best to go to the Brelands and the town of Bree as well. Quests around Adso's camp, places in the northern Brelands, the Barrow Downs, and also Buckland are some worthwhile places for some quality questing. Levels 19 to 30. These levels, you'll want to spend lots of time in the Lone Lands and the North Downs. The North Downs is straight north of Breetown, and the Lowlands is sort of southeast of Breetown. If you head for the Lowlands first, head south out of Bree, and you'll eventually come to the Lonely Inn. It's really hard to miss. It's the one with the broken roof. Plenty of quests and folks in and outside of the Lonely Inn, and some cool sights to see as you venture further down the road.
Now, before I forget, as you're going to all these places around the map, don't forget to locate and check in with the stable master at every location in town that you come to. Find them and right-click on them and make sure that you see the glowing pulse to confirm that you checked in. Because if you don't check in with the stable master, you won't be able to fast travel from one area to another. It is quite time-consuming having to just ride from one area to another.
As you level up in the Lone Lands, beware of certain areas that will certainly slow your leveling and potentially be too much until you've leveled higher. Areas such as the ruins of Minas Ithil, especially if you've just arrived, can be somewhat overwhelming, the number of enemies that can attack you all at once. The one area I would avoid unless you have a fellowship or are a much higher level, closer to or higher than 30, is Angmar, which is behind the red pass in the top right corner of the Lone Lands map. That area will certainly slow down your leveling due to its high-level enemies and consistent threat of being overwhelmed. Once you have finished most of the Lone Lands, it would be wise to move on to the North Downs and the town of Thresselbridge. There's plenty to do up there with plenty of quests and leveling available. However, be careful because again, some areas are filled with enemies that will attack you all at once, like Nan Warthen and Fornost. Levels 30 through 39. At level 30, you are ready to head to Evendim. If you don't feel strong enough for it, you can certainly start in the small hobbit town of Oatbarton and do some quests there. Oatbarton is directly north of the Shire and will take you straight into Evendim. Make sure to bring some food and some health and morale potions with you because there is lots of fighting that happens up there. Don't forget to take the boat across the lake. There's a series of nice quests to quick level there too. Once you have reached level 39, you're able to leave Emedim. However, I can't imagine why, because it is beautiful. The weather is always nice, and the grass is a gorgeous emerald green, and the water is always crystal clear. You can go to a couple of different places after Evendim. You can either go back to the North Downs and continue on from there, or you can move on to the Trollshaws, which is the area just before the Valley of Imladris. But by the common tongue, it is known by another name.
The Valley of Imladris. In the common tongue, it's known by another name.
Rivendell.
First, we must tackle the Trollshaws. You can start questing in the Trollshaws from level 35 until you become level 42 to 43. At that point, most quests should be finished, or if you go into the Trollshaws already at those levels, then you'll just need to move on. Those quests will be beneath you and won't give you much XP. However, in the Trollshaws from levels 34 to 36, should be able to take on most animals and enemies. And as you progress further into the Trollshaws and gain more levels, you'll be matching most of the monsters in the area of Thorinhad. Also, don't forget to check out some really cool sites in the area as well.
Look, Frodo. It's Mr. Bilbo's trolls.
There are some cool caves to explore, as well as plenty of trolls to take out, hence the name of the area. There's plenty to do in Rivendell itself, as well as the Misty Mountains just to the north. But don't worry, if you miss Rivendell, there are plenty of quests, mainly in the Epic, that make you come back and speak with Elrond, and then go back to where you were.
One thing to keep in mind is the epic quest line, which is the overarching storyline of the game itself. Every once in a while you come across the main characters, such as Gandalf and the rest of the Fellowship, in various spots all over the map. So keep an eye out for them as you're questing throughout the game.
Levels 39 through 54. Once you are finished with the Trollshaws and the Misty Mountains, you are ready to move on to Angmar, which is quite a bitter place. Evil, dark, and with a brooding atmosphere. Some folks don't like going there. To get to Angmar, it would be wise to go through the ranger camp at Estelden in the North Downs. Follow the road east. Make sure you take the Nan-Amlug East Road and not the west. The west is full of enemies. It'll make you fight through several enemies all at once and will certainly slow you down. So, take the east road until you come to a large gorge with an enormous gate that leads into Angmar. You'll come to the first village area of Oghair. From there, any and most quests will lead you where you need to go progressively around Angmar. But just a word of caution that some areas you will need help with. Mainly the northern areas are the more challenging spots and will do better with either a fellowship or just another player. However, if you ever get quite downtrodden with the depressing atmosphere of Angmar, feel free to venture off into another area that is quite different, and that would be Forochel. Now, Forochel is tough to start at levels in the early 40s, but once you reach level 45 and above, Forochel is quite decent. But also, one to do with a fellowship if possible, in the earlier levels. Forochel has its own beauty of being this frozen winter wonderland with loads of aurora borealis constantly dancing about the sky, and the white snow-encased landscape. But with all that beauty does come some drawbacks, as it's the most sparsely populated area of the game. Each place to quest and do combat and complete quests are extremely spread out and take a very long time to ride to. So, it would behoove you to take the time to ride around to get all the stable masters first, so you can fast travel and save yourself a lot of riding time in the future. Now, once you've done that, then head to your first questing spot and get started. One thing to be aware of in Forochel is the bitter cold. It does add a debuff to your character, unless you have some way of keeping yourself warm. Levels 45 through 54. Once you have reached level 45, or have finished everything in Forochel and Angmar, you can now move on to which is again on the far side of the map, so like I said before, Make sure you grab all of the stable masters you can as you go to each area, so you can fast travel and move on to your next area that much faster. Unless you really want to ride from Forochel to the south side of the Trollshaws on your own. Anyways, once you enter a region, you will head to the small elven camp of Gringris, which is located south of the fjord of Bruinen. When in a region, leveling can be quite slow depending on what level you arrive at. If you arrive around in the high 40s, then it will help you quick level even faster. But once you reach level 52, leveling in a region is quite slow and would be best to simply move on to Moria. However, this is the area where you get introduced into your legendary weapons.
Now, that'll be for another video coming soon.
Levels 50 to 60. Once you have finished your quest line for your legendary weapon, you can now finally enter Moria. Now, Moria is one of the first expansion packs that folks had to originally purchase, but since Update 33, this and the next several expansions are free to all players. Now, Moria is one of the regions of Middle-earth that you will either like or really dislike. Me personally, I enjoyed my time in Moria. Now, the starter areas of Moria are much more maze-like rather than the higher level areas. This will give you the impression that all of Moria is a maze, and that's not the case. Towards the end of your time in Moria, it is much more cave-like and easier to travel, so no crevices to fall off to your death. Check out this map as a travel guide throughout Moria. However, if you are not fond of dark mazes and dungeons, then once you have reached level 55, feel free to move on to Lothlorien. Levels 55 through 65. At level 55, you can run straight to the first hall of Moria, and go outside and start the available quests in the west part of Lothlorien. Your first quest can be picked up at the elf camp, just east of the stairs to Moria. Later on, you can pick up quests in Echad and Distel, an elf camp on the western border of the Golden Forest. From the moment you enter Moria, you will be outside of the beginner area of Eriador, and into the expansion areas. Now, once you've reached this point, you'll have pretty much figured out the pace of the game and where you will head to next. What lies before you is much more adventure-filled land as far as the eye can see, and plenty of quests and storyline to keep you busy for quite some time. One thing I will say, depending on your playstyle, if you like to just level up and move on and don't care that much about the story, the more completionist type, then by all means do your thing. But if once you exit Moria and get into the wider world of Middle-earth, try to pay attention to the story and what's happening to the folks you encounter. There are some really cool storylines that come up in different areas. I hope this video helps you new and newer players that are starting your adventure into Middle-earth. Now, this isn't a perfect guide as to how to play the game, but simply a generic, this is kind of the path you'll eventually take. But feel free to hang out and spend more time in any areas as you please. The game is yours to do with as you wish. And don't forget to take the time to take in some of the sights as you go. The game devs really took their time with every area to make it as beautiful or evil looking as it should be.
Anyways, that's it for today, folks. I hope you guys really enjoyed the video. And don't forget to check out the Instagram and the Patreon for some behind-the-scenes stuff, as well as some sneak peeks at some upcoming projects and videos. Thank you all so much for watching, and if you guys have any further questions or suggestions for future videos, please let me know.